how did India or Asia come about?
Yeah, I guess that's a massive decision for any New Zealand business owner, because you end up being quite a big fish in a very small pond, and you can be very comfortable doing that and successful financially, and then making the decision to go, well, actually, no, this is the global problem, and if we want this to be all that it could be, we've got to get on planes and take this to the world. That's a massive decision, and I've got so much respect for the other entrepreneurs.
Hello, awesome people of the world! Today it is my great pleasure to be sharing words with Carmen Vicelich. I met Carmen a good handful of years ago at an event for the Icehouse, and she, from within the audience, had an energy that absolutely filled the room. I've since had the privilege of watching Carmen's dreams and businesses grow throughout the world while becoming an inspiration to many. In this recording, we find out a little bit more about the businesses Carmen has set up. We speak about how Better never stops, where she gets her energy from, and things she has done to really exceed expectations. Mentoring is something that lies close to the heart for Carmen, so we end this recording with a few thoughts around scoring your most awesome mentor. This one is fast-paced and full of gems. Enjoy the awesomeness. Here we go! Carmen, it's great to have you here today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Cam.
To kick things off, Carmen, can we just start with a bit of an overview of the companies that you've set up and what they do?
Sure. So I've got two businesses, and both of them are all about transforming customer experiences and simplicity. So Data Insight helps large corporates or any business that have lots of data to actually make data-driven decisions. So when we launched Data Insight, everyone was saying they've got lots and lots of data, lots of reporting, lots of business insights, but actually no insight, no actionable insights to tell them what to do with the data and make data-driven decisions. So that's my first business. And then my other business is Velocity. And if you think about the process of getting a mortgage, getting a valuation, every single bank in the world has to go through a decisioning process. And so we, very little has changed in a very long time. And we transform and simplify that process.
When you were coming up with Velocity, were there any competitors in the marketplace?
My background is I worked for 10 years for a large corporate for CoreLogic, and they're a big global business, and I had 4 children, and I guess I took stock and looked around the market, and no one was doing what I wanted to be doing with data and with technology, so I saw a real opportunity, and customers, especially banks for the Velocity business were saying, well, now we want to do this, now we want to do that, and no one was really innovating in that space, and so that's when I saw the opportunity to create a cloud-based platform that was modular, configurable, that a lender could quickly change it and make it their own, but very much that could deliver customer centricity and have a better customer journey, because it's such an important emotive experience when we're buying and getting a home.
Because I guess there's a bit of a thought that maybe when we're using technology that there's a letting go of being customer-centric, but that's very much a big part of your business and who you are. So how do you maintain that?
Yeah, what does it actually look like? I suppose if you think about us as people and how we live our lives, it's changing so quickly. We're always on. We all have these amazing experiences with global brands like Amazon. I came here in an Uber. It was like he was a racing car driver. He was so fast. And it was just touch of a button on our mobile, and it's just seamless and relevant experience. I jumped out the car. I didn't have to pay him and get my credit card out. And so we have these amazing experiences. And so our expectations have changed, that today we now expect other brands, whether they're local or global, to deliver these seamless and relevant experiences. And that's only possible with data and with technology. So you need the data to understand, well, which customer, what do they actually want? How do I proactively deliver and help them? And then you need the technology to deliver that. And I guess those are the two components that are in both my businesses and that I'm passionate about. So in the Velocity business, it's actually about how do we make that a seamless and relevant experience for a customer and make it easier for them.
And that you spoke about your passion, and how is that something you've always been passionate about? And what is your first or kind of earliest memory of being like, I'm really passionate about people and making systems as easy as they can be.
I think it's probably a people thing, that I'm very much a people person, and it's actually solving someone's problem gives me great delight and gives me a kick. So I think I've been doing that my whole life, I would say. And, actually, as data's evolved and technology's evolved, I've recognised that those are the best ways to do that en masse and really to make a global, a scalable difference.
So how long has it been now that you've not been working for someone else?
Data Insight just turned 6 in April, and Velocity the platform will be live 5 years in October. So it's been an amazing journey. I guess probably, it's about knowing when's the right time for you. I've always been entrepreneurial in that even when I worked for someone else, I worked from home. I had complete flexibility. They rarely saw me. I really just worked client side and really efficiently as if it was my business. And then after 4 children, and 10 years of being there, I kind of looked around and I had a wonderful husband who said, well, now's your time and why don't we do something? And I guess so it was just then that we started the business, and it's been an amazing, amazing ride ever since.
But was that scary? It's an amazing ride, but there's a lot of people out there that are doing things, or they'll see, you get to a position in the company and it's easy to stay there, or to say, look, I've got 4 kids now, we've got to be what's comfortable.
That's a very good question, and it was. So, I didn't have to change. I could have stayed where I was. I was earning very good money. As I say, I had flexibility, work from home. I loved my clients. So I didn't have to change, but I could just see a problem that needed to be solved. And also, I was, working so hard. I thought, well, actually, I'd love to build something for my family and for my future, and also be in control of the decision making for customers to actually innovate how and when I wanted to. But I was the income earner, so with 4 kids I have an amazing husband who was the house husband, so that was a huge decision to say, well, actually, if you think about it, there were a lot of people that were naysayers, because I was saying, well, actually, I've got no data, I've got no team, I've got no technology, and I'm going to transform the mortgage and valuation process around the world. So a lot of people thought I was completely crazy. The data wasn't really available. The key decision maker for Velocity is banks, and they're relying on this every single day to make billions and millions of mortgage lending decisions. And I'm going, it's innovative, it's disruptive, and we had to build a nationwide valuation panel. So valuers we're going, well, do you want to be on our panel? And valuers were going, well, have you got any banks? And we were going to banks, do you want to use our panel? And they were going, have you got any valuers? So it was, I guess, incredibly big obstacles to overcome. So yes, that was certainly very daunting in the beginning.
You had those big obstacles to overcome, but you still decided to keep going, to keep pushing through the challenges. Can you remember what that felt like?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's 2 things. It's passion and resilience. It's passion that you want to make a difference, and you can see this problem that can be solved, and you can do it better. And that's a real driver. And then the resilience is actually such a fundamental trait. It's getting up when you're knocked down, and it's actually saying, this is not how the story ends, and I'm going to just keep going with this. And, it's not a straight road to success, so it's kind of recognizing, now what's going to happen, and these things will always happen, but it's actually how you deal with them and then move forward, and constantly moving forward. So it's definitely a learning, and I think what I've started to really learn to do is enjoy the journey, as opposed to always wanting to rush to the next stage.
I think that's big, because there's a lot of people out there and it's all about the future and the big dreams, and that's what I speak about, and I really appreciate that. But I remember a mentor of mine saying, Cam, sometimes you've got to just stop and remember where you are.
Yeah, and what
it's
you've done.
It's a pretty awesome place. So how do you do that?
I do that with my family, I guess, and keeping my mom's always says to me, stop and smell the roses, and my husband always reminds me my kids will only be young once. So as an entrepreneur and a business owner, especially building global, you're making a lot of sacrifices, and one of the biggest ones is time with your children, with your husband, with your family. And so it's making sure that when I am there on the weekends, as much as possible, I'm present. I'm enjoying the little things like a cup of latte with our lovely rocket machine with my husband sitting outside on a beanbag looking at the view, just chit-chatting, or, whether it's my kids coming and jumping into bed with me on a Saturday morning. Those little moments are really, really special. When I come home after being in Sydney and it's, 1 o'clock in the morning, I go and kiss each child goodnight and have a little sniff and just appreciate how lucky I am. So I think it's really keeping your balance, and lucky we live in a lifestyle block, so there's horses and greenery, and I find that's really amazing for me as well, just to de-stress.
Does everything work in yin and yang, kind of? Because I guess there's a concern that when you've got, one dream here of being in business and another dream with your family and your house, that they could almost be contrasting or conflicting. So how do you get them all working kind of together?
I guess I see them as one, and more around energy,
Yeah.
and they all feed my energy. So I'm an adrenaline junkie, and the faster I go and the more things happening, I'm fine with that, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to deal with more things, and that doesn't challenge me at all. But then it's also recognizing that if I want to go hard, I also have to look after myself, look after my body, look after my mind, look after my environment, also look after what is important to me and what I value, and remembering what I value. So you learn to say no to things. Like if you've had a very busy week and you're working on something really big, you can't necessarily go to the social thing on a Friday night and a Saturday night. You got to have that one night in on the couch in your jammies in your happy place. So you do learn to say no. You learn to actually see who feeds you with good energy, but who gives you negative energy. Like I remember when I had my first child, going to a nappies, a baby group, thing. And a lot of people I know have made great friends doing that, but it was like a husband bashing session. Everyone was just so negative. The husband had to get up, and this is so hard, and it was all complaining. And I just felt, oh my gosh, guys, just be happy. You've got a baby. Your husband's at work. Why are you complaining? And so I think it's just recognizing where is your tribe, where do you get your energy from, and how do you feed it, and where do you, where do you lose energy, and actually not putting yourself as much as possible in those situations.
There's a quote, and it's been going around a bit of a moment of you're at an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, that kind of positive energy, positive people.
Yeah.
Have you always had people in your life who have inspired and fueled you to be who you are today?
I'm very lucky. My parents always said you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
If you really want to do that, then you can. And I think you'll know all about that.
Absolutely.
That's just so amazing. And that's what I want to be for my children, is also letting them see it doesn't matter if you're a mother. You can have the best of both worlds. And if you really want to do something, as long as you're prepared to work hard at it and be disciplined, you can do anything you want. So my parents taught us that. My husband believes in me, so that's obviously huge. When I'm going to quit my job and I'm the income earner, I'm going to start this completely new thing, and and having his ongoing support and belief, and then I guess now seeing that instilled in my children, like my eldest pushing herself to jump higher on her pony and follow her passion and work at that every single day, because she's got a dream she wants to achieve. So I'm very lucky like that. And one of the things that's quite funny is my parents did Amway when I was a teenager, and so in our house all we read was Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill, and they were on this big, whatever you're putting in your mind is feeding it. So I was part of that, and it certainly put me in good stead as well. But I guess I've always been competitive.
Just going into a bit of personally who you are, what do you do outside of the business?
At the moment, outside of business, there's not a lot of free time outside of my my husband, my 4 children, and my immediate family and close friends. And I love socialising, and I love hosting and having. We're from a big family, so that makes me happy. I'm definitely get my energy from people. So I'm a big extrovert, and so I love it. In summer, it's like open house with a swimming pool. Come over, or in winter, come over. So I'm very much an extrovert.
Yeah, and I love seeing that. I follow you on your Instagram, and there'll be an image of you 1 hour in the airport, and the next hour you're sort of running across the school field in your high heels and your yellow dress, and it does feel like you just release energy over time. What does a typical day look like in order to maintain that level of
I get asked that a
energy.
lot, and I suppose I don't think of myself as having extra energy because I am what I am.
You are who you are, right?
Yeah. But I think I've got like the philosophy of just, you'll fit everything in and make the most of every single day and, actually just make it work because you never want to have regrets and go, oh, I wish I'd done that or I wish I did that. I think find reasons to do things, not to. So, I definitely try and fit it in. And, you do get judged when you're driving across Auckland in your suit from a meeting, parking in the loading bay, and I'm running across the field for cross country going, Mummy's here. And then, all the other mothers are going, what is she wearing?
Yeah.
And then you're running back across the field, racing back across Auckland and walking to another meeting. But it's actually making sure you prioritise what's important to you and then make it work. And sometimes I get that wrong. I remember I was actually, they changed my boys' school cross country because it rained, and I was sitting in a restaurant with a client that I'd tried to get a meeting with for quite some time, and we had a lunch, and then I got a photo from my husband, and my son was running across the finish line. He'd come first, and he had this jubilant look on his face, and that night I just burst into tears and said, I don't always get it right. I should have been there, and I vowed, the next year I'm going to be there no matter what, and I was, and I remember saying to him, okay, you got to win. Mummy's here this year, and my husband was going, oh my God, you're putting so much pressure on him. And I was like, take the inside lane, but he did win, and I guess I was happy that I'd recognise it. No, you don't always get it right. You're constantly having to prioritise, but it's making sure you prioritise what's important to you as much as you can, and then recognising the sacrifices. Last year Mother's Day I was in India, saw everybody's Facebook posts with their kids, and but recognise that I was actually making that sacrifice for my family to build something.
Yeah, and and virtual is all about what you're building. And so when you feel that you make a little mistake or you miss something, how do you pick yourself up from that moment to go, okay, well, yep, I've learned from it, but now we're going to move forward?
So I'm actually very good at checking in with myself. So because I've got a big long drive home, on a Friday night I will review the week and see, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve, or what are the mistakes that I made, or what could I have done better, and I think, your EQ is constantly growing when in your gut, I didn't do that quite right. And I guess, you're constantly learning when you're dealing with problems, when you're dealing with people, and when you're growing in yourself. So I think it's recognising that, better never stops, and I love that phrase, better never stops, and we embrace it at work with our team and with our culture to say no matter how good we are, we can always be better as people, as a team, as a business, as a company. And so I really embrace that, and I think, wherever you are in your life, whatever obstacles or problems you're working through, it's actually trying to feed that so you can work through it. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, or, whether it's Unfiltered or TEDx, or Blinkist is awesome because all the books are all audio, and then do a lot of reading in the morning. I do non-fiction reading just to set my mind, and I go to different things depending on what I'm working through, and it's about constantly actually making sure I'm the right person to lead my business as my business continues to evolve, and that I'm continuing to learn.
Yeah, and I see you also through your learning, you're giving heaps back, and I often use the quote of our success isn't determined by what we achieve individually, but how you learn from our experiences to move to connect and inspire the lives of others. And I mean, I see you've done a lot with Unfiltered, even for this podcast, you were always, when can we do it despite how busy your workload is? Do you see that as being quite an important part of business and of yourself, that giving back?
Yeah, I do think so, and it's a challenge because on the one hand I've got to be really focused with what I'm doing, and if I said yes to everything I'd be out every night, and so it's about balancing that for myself, and I have a huge amount of respect for you and what you're doing and admiration, so I was really happy to come along for the interview. I've since picked up, got celebrity speakers to manage my speaking, cool. Just to be able to have them say no sometimes for me, because sometimes it's hard. But I think I do want, especially a woman, to know you can have a career or you can have a business and a family. You don't have to choose. Yes, it'll be busy. Yes, you'll have to prioritise. But actually, there's no right or wrong way of living your life. And I guess so if I can inspire somebody to just actually live their best life in whatever that means, in whatever role that means, then I find that hugely rewarding. But it is is a challenge because I can't say yes to everything.
You said yes to your own dreams, and I guess that's the biggest thing, right? You know, saying yes, I believe I can. And so when you went from, you know, having the security of your job to setting up your own businesses, what was that time frame between, you know, saying bye to a guaranteed check to going, okay, this is working?
Oh, wow. I guess it was actually a lot longer than I thought because the company where I'd worked for tried to stop me from starting. So I went through a battle with them, which ended after 10 months. But for 10 months, I couldn't start. And that was unexpected, you know, and I guess probably I had a level of naivety thinking, you know, I could start my own business. Why shouldn't I? And so I guess I had a big battle before I could start, and that was usually stressful. The good news was it ended with a signed public apology, and but until that happened, I couldn't actually start working. And then the time frame was I was so fired up. We you know, grew really, really quickly. So I guess that's the great thing about this market is you can grow based on word of mouth really fast. So Data Insight grew really quickly with word of mouth. We got a really great big client, and everyone talks to everyone, and we've really grown organically really fast ever since. And velocity, no bank wants to be first. We were going, what's new? It's innovation.
Yeah.
And we won our first bank as we were building the platform, as we went live. So it was a dream come true. It was absolute textbook. And so phenomenal success. And from there, we've just gone from strength to strength. So, you know, I guess once we were away with both of those, and I guess the secret to the success was really just collaborating and listening to the clients. So we didn't have to have a sales team. We just listened to the problems that they have and then solved them. And that was kind of what we focused on with both businesses. So it's not like you're selling. It's like, well, actually, you have this problem. This is how we can solve it. So
You're providing.
yeah.
And then at a certain point, you looked at New Zealand and thought, yeah, this is cool, but there's a bigger market out there, and you kind of focused quite a bit on India. How did India or Asia come about?
Yeah, I guess that's a massive decision for any New Zealand business owner because you end up being quite a big fish in a very small pond, and you can be very comfortable doing that and successful financially, and then making the decision to go, well, actually, no, this is the global problem, and if we want this to be all that it could be, we've got to get on planes and take this to the world. That's a massive decision, and I've got so much respect for the other entrepreneurs that have done that successfully because it's really hard work. So, you know, the Rods and the Vaughans and all of those that have gone before us, you know, and the Marlboroughs, just so challenging going to a new country and getting on that plane and knocking on doors. So I guess for us it was Australia. We've done well in Australia and we're continuing to grow really quickly there. And that's really exciting for us to work with the lenders there. And then why Asia? I guess no one's there doing what we do. And so there's the real opportunity to help the unbanked in the India and ASEAN market because a lot of the people there are getting their first ever home. They have no credit score. And if we can make the valuation a super robust process with quality control, the bank can say yes. And so that's really exciting for us.
It's exciting, but also I imagine, and for a lot of people why they're not doing it, is it's overwhelming, right? I mean, you're going into this huge, huge country, not necessarily speaking the language, not necessarily knowing people. Did you already know people, or you really just jumped on a plane, lined up meetings, sure what happened?
Yeah, it's just using your network, having the conversations, and you never know where one meeting's going to go to another meeting. And so you do have to make the effort to do that. And I mean, that's how we found our country manager through word of mouth and having somebody that we could really get that was well endorsed and well regarded through word of mouth was so powerful. I think leveraging what's out there. So NZTE in India were amazing for us. And, we've also had a Callaghan grant that's helped us with our R&D. So, seeing what's around you and what you can use to help you get there as well is really important.
And how much for building those relationships? Is it you? Is it a team? Is it a combination of both?
Everything in life is about people. It doesn't matter what your business is. It's all about people. It's all about relationships. So, I think you have to recognize as a founder entrepreneur that there becomes a stage in your business where it's definitely not all about you. And as much as you can bring other people up, that's when you can really truly scale. So for us, it's always been about getting the dream team, hiring the best people, and it doesn't matter what what we have to pay for them. So we're absolutely passionate about our team. We have a phenomenal team in both my businesses, and they are all just A-class players that I feel privileged to go to work with them every single day, and it's an absolute pleasure. So we hire very, very carefully, and it's people that have the right attitude, that want to be problem solvers, that want to can-do attitude, and that actually have that customer obsession, and that's consistent across both our businesses, and it's consistent across all our people across all the countries. And as long as you don't compromise that, I think then you're in with a winning way, because as long as you're listening to your customers and then giving them what they want, then you're going to grow.
When you look back on it now, is there any sort of wisdom or experience that you wish you'd been given at the start of that journey that you feel you can provide now? Or?
Oh, I guess it's only you know what you know, and you all have seen this. So many people have an opinion about things and will have a view on how you should do things or how you shouldn't do things, but you're unique. The problem you're solving is unique, and your business is unique. So I guess, you have to really go and ask the questions, make sure you, decide who you're listening to and who you're not listening to, because there's such a different experience for everybody. I guess for us, really worked really well doing all our development in-house, because it means for our Velocity platform, we're so agile and customizable for our clients that when they want something, we're 2 steps ahead and we can be so proactive. Whereas when we set out, I was going to partner with someone else to build the platform and just not actually have it in-house. But in the end, what seemed like a disaster was the best thing that could have happened. And that's one of our biggest unique selling points today. And I think especially if you're going global, or really whatever you're doing, and I bet you've seen this a lot, everyone has an opinion, and just because someone else has done it some way, they think you need to do it that way. But you actually just have to be true to yourself and true to your values and true to your passion, and then you'll be guided the right way.
When you were at school, what was that big dream, or what did you believe you could go over and achieve?
Oh, when I was at school, I think I was watching too much LA Law. I wanted to be a criminal lawyer, actually. And then I enrolled in law school from provisional entry, but for the last year, someone suggested, why don't I do an exchange? And I went and lived in Argentina for a year and met some amazing people that weren't necessarily super wealthy. And it came back and really kind of recognised there was more to life than that, and changed my whole way of thinking for what I wanted to do.
What do you look for in a role model, and who have been your role models?
I think definitely my parents have been amazing role models. So, my dad, my mum and dad coming from South Africa, starting again, with their future, because it was a better future for us, for children. And I guess the role models that they've been of my mom working throughout her career and being an amazing mother, and continuing to give back to the community. And my dad also just kind of letting us both believe, all our family, both of them making us believe anything is possible. You can be anything you want to be. So they've been amazing role models. And then my husband, I guess, because he believes in me, and he's just the yin to my yang.
What do you look for?
I think you do, and you connect on authenticity. It's really somebody that's authentic for role models, because, if you want a role model or a mentor, you want someone that you can be yourself with, warts and all, and ask them for what you're needing to ask them. So Keith Norris has been a mentor for many years for me, and, he knows people very, very well, and has he's just turned 80 this year, so he's got a lifetime of experience in dealing with people, and so it's looking for someone that's got the same values as you, but also that you can learn from. It doesn't matter, it doesn't need whether you're learning on a personal level, a business level, someone that you can learn from. And I suppose for entrepreneurs building global businesses, there's not that many New Zealand entrepreneurs that have done that, and so it's making sure you're listening to somebody that's got an informed opinion, and actually has gone and walked the talk and actually done it, because that's hugely different than someone someone that's still in a corporate life giving advice, when you resign from that job and go, actually, I've got no backstop, and I'm just throwing myself, jumping off a cliff here, and I'm going to make sure I can fly this parachute, that's completely different. So making sure that you, I guess, listen, see, who are you listening to, and do they have the right to give you advice? And then recognizing that you're unique, and even whether they give you advice, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you.
How do you approach your mentors? If you wanted to meet someone face to face, show your role models. Have you had experiences where you've gone, oh, I wonder if I could meet that person? Or...
It's funny because I think, probably more and more exposure, and you will have it from talking at different events and, with other successful people. It's not such a novelty to meet somebody like that. But I suppose I would say you'd have to put yourself out there if you want to. You have to go to events, you have to build your network, and you have to give back if you're wanting to meet somebody. So I think New Zealanders and Kiwis are incredibly giving with their time. And so I would say one of the things I believe is don't ask, don't get. So, reach out to them on LinkedIn, drop them a message, ask them to take them to lunch at their favourite restaurant. And it's really hard if you're, a person that's happy, that's giving, it's really hard to say no. Yep. When somebody asks you and they don't ask you in an entitled way, because that's not nice. Like some people do take the mickey, and, you'll get these messages after doing a talk on LinkedIn, and they want you to basically write their business plan and do their pitch for them to do a raise or something, and you're like, well, actually, I'm kind of busy and I don't even know you, and that's pushing it a bit far. So I think if you're respectful of people's time, if you ask in a nice way, I'm sure no one, minds having half an hour for a cup of coffee, and if you're organised and prepared so that you know what are you wanting to get out of it, because people are busy. So I would say don't ask, don't get. Just put yourself out there, and if someone's going to be in an event or a speaker, line up to talk to them, have your business card ready, link in with them, and think about what you're going to say that'll make you stand out, but go for it.
Obviously, there's a lot coming your way. Is what excites you the most?
I'm just super excited. I guess to continue to grow both my businesses to be all that they can be, and then motherhood and being all that I can be with my children and my husband, so that I'm a role model for them, and they can see what's possible. So really, for me, being awesome is just being all that you can be. I suppose what's exciting is when you really know where you're going and what you're doing, and you know what you have to do to get there, then that's really exciting. So I really think about it like of strategic innovation. So innovation not just for the sake of it, with disciplined execution, because everyone's got lots of ideas, but you really have to be so focused and so disciplined to execute. And then when you're in that zone, then it's really exciting because you can just see, well, okay, these are the steps that I have to do to get there.
What does the word awesome mean to you?
I love the word awesome, Kevin. I know you use it a lot, and it's magic. So I love how you've used it in so many things, but it's very much you, isn't it? The word awesome to me, it can be so many things, and it really, if I think about it, probably just means being all that you can be. And so it doesn't necessarily mean winning. Like I remember I did just a 10K fun run a couple of weekends ago, and when I was running, there were just people of all shapes and sizes. There was this Asian man powering through, there was an elderly lady, there was young children, and I just thought, I remember thinking in my head the word awesome, just thinking, God, it's just so awesome. They're out there on a sunny Sunday morning in this beautiful Mission Bay, and they're just doing what they can do. And for me, it's about actually life's so fragile and so short. It's making sure that every day is a great day and you're being all that you can be, and that's for me is awesome, whatever it is that you choose to do.
Have you got a favourite quote that sort of sticks out to you?
I've got a lot that I love, but probably one of my favourites is everything the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So, and I think that's so important to just think, well, if you really, really want something, it doesn't matter what it is, and you're prepared to do the work and you believe, then you know that you can be successful, and you will. And I guess you're a great testimony to that too as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for Carmen, for
pleasure.
Coming on the show. You dream big, you achieve more, and you show so many people what it takes to live an awesome life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
It's been a
Cam.
pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you again.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh wow, that was so cool having that opportunity to be in a room with Carmen in her busy, huge schedule that is out there growing businesses, growing people. And what I really love about Carmen is that not only does she give the time, but she celebrates who it is in her life that enables her dreams and her visions to become a reality. I would like to take this time to really thank the National Business Review, the NBR, for taking the time to hear my dream and make it into the reality of this podcast, where they create the space, the staff, in order for me to record the raw footage and the raw audio that goes into what you hear right now today. So, whatever your dream may be, think of the people who are out there in the world who would, one, benefit from it, but two, be able to support you in order to make your dream your reality, because that is awesome. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, enjoyed the audio, enjoyed the visual, and remember, when we dream big, we all achieve more, and that is awesome.